Leave your money in your 401k? Take your money out of your 401k? Let's talk about it. Hello everybody, Joe Wirbick coming at you, and today we are going to discuss your 401k. Now, as always, when I say 401k, I can also be talking about a 401a or a 403b or a 457 plan or a simple IRA or a SEP IRA. We're basically discussing your qualified retirement plan, meaning your retirement plan you have at work. So does it make sense to leave the money in the plan? Now, there's typically two times that you can remove the money from your plan. Number one is if you leave your place of work. So you're no longer work there or you're retired, then you have the opportunity, if you so desire, to roll the money out of that plan. The second time you have that you can take the money out of the plan is when you achieve age 59 and a half. Because if you've watched my other videos, if you haven't watched my videos on IRAs, make sure you watch that one. We know that when you defer money inside of a retirement plan, the IRS requires you to leave that money in there until age 59 and a half. And that's the point when you're allowed to access the money without a 10% penalty. Now, there's other ways you can access the money without a 10% penalty, and I'll do a video on 72T distributions, but we're not going to cover that today. We're going to focus on you left your place of work and you can access your 401k, or you're now 59 and a half and you can access a 401k even if you're still working there. They call that an in-service withdrawal. So that should be available to you. Now, the IRS says it's available. Not all employers allow this, but you should check this. Check your employer and see if you are 59 and a half, can you do an in-service withdrawal? So today we're going to talk about the cons of doing an in-service withdrawal or rolling your 401k over, and then we're going to cover the pros of removing the money from your 401k. Let's get started. So how do you get the money out of a 401k and into an IRA? I typically recommend you do that through what we call a trustee to trustee transfer. And what I mean by that is you tell the current custodian, the person who's holding your 401k, to transfer the money directly to a new custodian. You do not want to do a 60-day rollover. Why not? Because recently there was a tax law change and you're only allowed one 60-day rollover per 401k to IRA per social security number per 365 days. So basically you can only do one a year. And if an emergency arises and you need to do a second one, it's a taxable distribution. You don't want that to happen. So try to avoid 60-day rollovers and try to do all of these money movements through a trustee to trustee transfer. It goes from one trustee to the other trustee. This is a non-taxable event as long as you move it from a 401k to an IRA. Now, if you move it from a 401k to a Roth IRA, that would be a taxable event. That's a different video. We're not discussing that today. So as a disclosure, I'm going to be discussing a 401k that has all pre-tax contributions. We're not going to get into the finer points of if you did some pre-tax, you did some after-tax, you did some Roth, because then you have to worry about what we call pro rata rules. And a pro rata rule has to do with what percent of the account is after tax, what percent of the account. We're not going to go down that road. So for our discussions today, we're going to assume the entire account balance, your contributions, your employer's contributions are all pre-tax contributions. Pre-tax means when you put the money into the account, you didn't pay the tax. And you did that because you were hoping that one day you'd be in a lower tax bracket. And if you haven't watched my videos on IRAs versus Roth IRAs, make sure you catch that video because we talk about how the future may not have lower tax brackets for anybody in this country, and you may want to check that out. So let's start off with the cons. Why you may not want to remove the money from your 401k. Well, number one, if you're under 59 and a half and you haven't left your place of employment, you can't. And if you do, you could be penalized. And if you take the money out of the 401k and you just throw it in your checking account, that's fully taxable. So that means if you had $100,000 in your 401k and you just went in there and yanked the money out and dumped it in your checking account, that's ordinary income tax for you that year. You've just added $100,000 of money to your taxable income, and that's going to probably throw you into a higher tax bracket. That's a bad idea. Do not do that. Another reason you would not want to take your money out is loans are available inside your 401k. So you're allowed to, at your place of work, borrow money out of your 401k and pay that money back. That's allowed in a 401k. If you take the money out of the 401k and you move it to an IRA, loans are no longer available. Make sure you understand that loans are gone when you take the money out of your qualified plan. Fees. At your place of work, the fees could be low. You could have a very good employer who doesn't charge you a lot of money. They could have good investments that have very low fees. You need to know what your fees are. And you want to see if the fees are higher or lower. If you have really low cost money management, it might make sense for you to leave the money there. Creditor and lawsuit protection. One of the beautiful things about a 401k is you have unlimited creditor and lawsuit protection, meaning if you get sued, you do something wrong and you're sued, or creditors come after you, they cannot touch your 401k. When you move it from your 401k to an IRA, now you default to your state, and each and every state has different guidelines, so make sure you check with your state guidelines, make sure you check with your attorneys to understand if rolling the money out of your 401k or your IRA is going to expose you to more risk from lawsuits and creditors. So that covers the cons. Now let's talk about the pros, why it might make sense for you to move the money out of your 401k. Investment options. By having it inside your 401k, you're limited to whatever your employer has chosen. Maybe it's 5 funds, maybe it's 10 funds, maybe you don't have active money management, you don't have professional money management. It's a very narrow field. When you take the money out of your 401k and you roll it over to an IRA, you have the entire universe of investments. You can do a self-directed IRA, you can put it in a brokerage account and have different investments managed there. And I'm not telling you which one to do. We're not going to get into investment advice. None of my videos will go over investment advice. I'm just saying that you have more investment choices when you move the money out of the 401k into an IRA. Another pro, fees. So just like I said, a con could be that you have lower fees at your 401k. It may be that your 401k is overcharging you. You may have excessively high fees at your 401k, and by moving the money, you may find somebody who charges less, has much lower fees. There are some great index funds out there, some great ETFs that have much lower fees than what you may be experiencing at your current company. Again, I'm not going to make any recommendations on investments. This is just talking about overall planning with your 401k. Guaranteed investments, another pro. You don't have guaranteed investments maybe inside your 401k. You could maybe get a fixed annuity or some sort of a pension plan outside your 401k that may not be currently available in your 401k, and it may behoove you to look at moving that money so you have more options for more guaranteed investments. But the biggest pro of all, and the whole reason why I'm making this video, is because of Roth conversions. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you understand I am very pro Roth conversion. And I think everybody should look into and have somebody run the numbers for you about Roth conversions. So having the money in an IRA allows you to do Roth conversions in a much easier way than it is inside of a 401k. Maybe your 401k doesn't even offer a Roth option. Maybe you don't want to go through the hassle of trying to do a Roth conversions at your 401k. So by moving the money into your own self-directed IRA, you can start Roth conversions. Let's take a hypothetical example. Let's say you're a 60-year-old and you have a 401k. And let's say that you put money in that 401k, and this past March when the markets collapsed, maybe you lost some of that money and the money's come back, but now you're feeling a little uncertain about leaving the money in the 401k, and you've been hearing about Roth conversion. Should I do a Roth conversion? So let's take that 60-year-old, say they have about $600,000 in a 401k. If we were to start doing conversions over the next number of years, we wouldn't convert it all at once. We'd want to do it slowly and steadily, not trying to push you into a higher tax bracket. Hypothetically speaking, you could save about $250,000 of taxes simply by converting that 401k into a Roth IRA. How would you do it? You would first take the money out of the 401k and place it into an IRA. So the money's over here in a 401k, we're going to grab it, we're going to move it over into an IRA. And then over the next number of years, you would slowly and continually convert a little bit at a time. Try not to go too high in tax brackets. And then the beautiful thing about the Roth, There's no RMDs. There's no required distributions. And when you touch the money, it comes out tax-free. And the money you take out doesn't cause your Social Security to become taxable. So you possibly could be in a situation where you don't have to pay any income taxes. Your Social Security would be tax-free. The distributions from your Roth IRA are tax-free. It is a great position to be in, and it could possibly save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. And the benefit of that is we're converting when taxes are low. Right now, as you're sitting there watching this video, we are in the lowest tax brackets we've seen in this country for almost 100 years. And in 2026, the taxes go back up. See, back in 2017, Trump passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And what this did was it temporarily lowered your income tax bracket. Everybody's bracket in the country lowered. Unfortunately, the cut was so large they could only afford to lower it until 2026. So in 2026, everybody's taxes are going up. So if you're going to be retired after 2026, which is pretty much everybody I'm talking to, unless you die before 2026, you're going to be in a higher tax bracket. So why not take advantage of the lowest taxes we've seen in this country for 100 years and take the money from the 401k to an IRA and then consistently and steadily convert from the IRA to a Roth IRA, paying our taxes at the lowest rate so that we never have to pay taxes again. That's the beauty of a Roth. A Roth grows tax-free, has no required distributions, doesn't cause your Social Security to become taxable, and when you take the money out, you pay no income taxes whatsoever. So there can be some huge benefits to taking money out of your 401k. Whether you do it through in-service withdrawals at age 59 and a half, or you've retired or left your place of employment and you have an old 401k and you're looking for something to do with it, this might behoove you. Again, there are some cons, there are some pros. You need to sit down with a qualified tax advisor. I always recommend sitting down with a certified financial planner to help them build a plan for you and show you why moving the money from the 401k to an IRA may be in your best interest. See, ERISA, which stands for the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, which was established back in the 70s, sort of holds court over your qualified plans, the accounts you have at work. And when you move them out of a qualified account, you no longer fall under ERISA. So that could be a positive, that could be a negative. That's why it behooves you to sit down and talk with a qualified person. Heck, reach out to us if you want to. Let us run the numbers for you and show you why it may or may not be in your best interest to move the money from a 401k. You should always be asking these questions. You should always be doing research. Don't just sit around and think this is the best choice for me. Do some research, get some information, and find out how you possibly could save a lot of money in taxes and create a much larger estate for your family. As always, if you like the video, make sure you hit like. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.